I am very impressed by, I feel like you were running your life almost from a very early age, right? And this kind of made you. Would you say that that's...
What made me?
The fact that you had to be so self-reliant so early, don't you think that had something to do with...
Yeah, I often worry about my, I have such good friends that they're all such terrific parents. And I worry about the kids, you know what I mean? Because having alcoholic, fucked up, suicidal, mental patient parents is really, really helpful for character development. Your eyes are wide open to the full scope of the human condition at an early age. So you have a high emotional IQ. I used to think it meant I should join the CIA or something, but later in therapy discovered it was actually just hypervigilance of constantly being, terrified and assessing situations. So it's not really that I was reading the room so well and could retain clues or random pieces of information. It's just clocking things. Because you kind of have to survive.
Yeah.
And yes, by by 6 probably, yes, at our friend, and we saw each other at Pee Wee's Memorial, at Paul Reubens Memorial.
Yeah.
And I think I did Pee Wee's Playhouse.
You did
6 to 8
Playhouse when you were a child actor, and you did Pee Wee's Playhouse, yeah.
Yeah. And so I guess, and I love Paul.
Mm-hmm.
But he was I remember he was one of the first guys that, he took me to a steak dinner. I talked about this at the memorial. And when I got out of rehab, he was one of the first people that was like, oh, hey, let me take you out to dinner. And it meant so much to me.
Yeah.
We had steaks in the valley someplace. And I was like, wow, I'm really back. And I guess he had been through so much that he sort of, I think, Susan Terrell from Fat City, they used to say that about her, that she would also sort of collect underdogs, you know what I mean? And hold them tight. There's some people in this town that are really like that, and it's a very special thing. Because most people are just well, hot or not, want to be associated proxy or I don't. And Paul said to me, I was never surprised when I saw all those pictures of you in the gutter or whatever. You got to remember, I met your mother.
Wow.
And it was pretty wild because...
Was she a stage mom then, very much?
Less of a stage mom, more of a stage nut job. And so I think, I don't have a mind that can recall with sufficient force what it was like exactly. And they're not bad people, my parents, It's they're just very untreated. In other words, so many things in our modern times, whatever this year is, I'll say 2024. Discussions happen about sort of mental health and kind of whatever, epigenetic footprint, what have you. People understand that that's a working part of a dynamic of being a person, a high-functioning person, or recovery, or whatever it takes. And so I sort of, only because they're dead, now I kind of love them. You know what I mean? I think
you have distance, too. I mean, that's the ultimate distance, actually.
Yeah, it was such a relief when they died. It's funny that people don't really tether the two, but it's as soon as they died, I was like, okay, now I'll do show business. So it's really only in the last decade. Up to then, I was mostly trying to avoid it because I didn't want these kind of Lindsay Lohan figured parents in my life on page 6, So I was like, I'll just stay here in the shadows until they die and kind of work a little bit here and there.
Do you really think you did that because you've worked a lot? You're starting with Orange is the New Black, and you're doing
and Russian Doll, and then now Poker Face.
And it's just you've had this unprecedented run of creativity.
Mm-hmm.
do you really think that was made possible because your parents died?
I think it's empirical. I just, it was a very, it's like PTSD, which is my only diagnosis, and a shocking twist, because you'd think I was insane in so many other confirmed ways. Which I believe I am. I just can't get a diagnosis. So I think they're wrong, but, and you don't really take medication. I guess you do. Whatever. Anyway, but yeah, like for me, I experience them as boogeymen, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
in my waking life and in my night terror life, because they were fucking insane, and so I had to get like a restraining order from my dad or whatever. I remember being really brokenhearted.
How old were you when you got a restraining order from your dad?
I was older already, because like when I was younger, it was harder. I had tried. Like he would show up at things like, I remember Bijou Phillips in the 90s told me, like, yeah, your dad came to set today, and it was like remember that weird James Brooks movie? No, what's his name? Jim Toback, anyway, with Mike Tyson in it. It's something black and white. Do you remember this fucking movie?
I vaguely do remember this.
From the 90s. I've never seen it. Could you Google that? Thanks so much.
He's also making you an airline reservation.
Oh, thank you so much.
Getting
it's
you an aisle
really,
seat.
really important. And maybe it was called Black and White or something.
So James took.
Well, you struggle with that a while, and I'll stay here.
You're just giving him tasks to keep him busy.
Yeah, I just like to stay. Everyone to stay busy.
Where is uranium on the elemental chart?
Yeah, and anyway, she told me, your dad showed up to set today looking for you. He just assumed, since it was shooting in New York City and Mike Tyson was in the movie, that you were in it too.
It's called Black and White.
Oh, it is. Thanks. And but there was nothing I could do about that kind of thing then. But years later, I guess I was probably 30 or something, which is weird because I'm 27 now. So
there was a singularity, and then there was a hole in space.
And so
don't ask, don't tell. If you see something, say something.
Definitely.
Yeah, and give a hoot. Don't pollute. Well, anyway, but it's important. These are the truths. Yeah. A lot of truths are coming out here.
And don't Google it, okay? All right, whatever you do. I like the idea of this year just starting to vigorously lie about my age, and it's definitely on Google. But so anyway, then later I was doing this play. It was like a Mike Lee play, and I remember I was so excited that Mike Lee was there, and then I remember seeing my dad from across the room. Like somehow he had found, and he had done that also with Slums of Beverly Hills. Like I remember,
because you were a kid when you did that.
Yeah, I guess I was like 17, 18.
Yeah.
But I remember he like showed up to the premiere, but I hadn't seen him in like a decade or something. And he just showed up. Yeah, and he was like, "Hey, Bambo," and my dad was a boxing promoter, from Brooklyn, which is why I never understand why people want to move there. I'm like, no, the goal is to get out of Brooklyn, but they think it's hip.
It changed a lot.
Well, did it? You know what I mean? I'd argue it's still not in Manhattan. So on. As a baseline, geographically speaking, has it changed? Oh, I see. They got some coffee shops. Congratulations. Oh, but you still, right. So, I can't, the one joy in New York is you can fucking come and go as you please. There's no claustrophobia or commitment. Brooklyn is a fucking commitment. Like you need an Uber, a subway, a Metro card, a taxi, or a very long walk. So anyway, then I remember him seeing him across from the Mike Lee, and it just broke my heart. Slums of Beverly Hills. I remember Rosie Perez and Marissa Tomei kind of like consoling me in the bathroom. It was like 3 of the thickest accents you'd ever heard. And they're just like, yo, Natasha, like, you don't fucking need this shit. Don't let him fucking bring you down. Like, you don't gotta go through this. Like, you know, like, just fucking do whatever you gotta do. But this is your night. It's fucking your night, you know? And don't let that motherfucker haunt you. And so he was fucked up like that. And my mother was just nuts. But they weren't really like bad people. And anyway, now that they're dead, I feel safe to kind of really be out there. And I don't care anymore.
You know, it's funny because you had all this success early on, and then you decided, because clearly they said to you at some point, all right, so what do you want to do now? I was reading some interview with you where you said, like, I don't want to be on Dawson's Creek. I don't want to be on the WB. That's not what I want.
Yeah.
Which I think, 99% of people in that situation would have said, how do I get on that kind of reality? And that's not what you wanted.
No, and I did not want those things. Like, and I remember my mother being like, why would you turn down Buffy? It's such a big show. And like, when are you going to get a boob job so you can work? And I was like, I'm just not putting that shit in my tits, Ma. Like, I am not. She was like, it would even you out because you got that ass. I was like, well, thanks. And
oh my God.
yeah. And
oh my God.
But like, I think that
this is the talk I never had with my parents.
Yeah. This is the birds and the bees talk. No, that's what they told me.